Moving back and forth. Oh, let me
Yes,
get
sir.
this back in the water here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man.
Good Swan Creek largemouth bass there, Bob.
Hey, Josh. Now that's, I'm gonna tell you, that's not a big fish. That fish hit like a big fish. He didn't know he was small.
I know.
He just hit
That's the
that.
smallest fish we've had all day.
Yeah, look at that. Carl, we moved out of the main part of the river up to a area you call what, Swan Creek?
This is Swan Creek, yes, sir. We come out of the back channel. We came up here in Swan Creek. Swan Creek has several points in here. If you're just looking for some fish, basic largemouth bass fishing, go to a point and start working.
Go to a point and start working.
And now for a closer look at today's tackle, Delaware Valley Outdoors presents the Tackle Box. For more information about the tackle used on today's show, go to DelawareValleyOutdoors.com.
Carl, we're here at the tackle box section of the show, and what we try to do is highlight the baits that we used today. And the bait you recommend, this bait right here. What do we have right here?
That is a Dave's tournament tackle. It's a new called the Raptor spinnerbait. That is my special kind of color. That's called a brim. Some people call it, I've called it sunfish or a brim, but that's technically now a brim. That is what I call a Captain Carl Stumper special blade combination, a little Colorado with that turtleback blade. And that turtle blade has the right cup, and it actually gives a lot of vibration for as big as the blade is in the bait. That Raptor has, and where your rubber band is there holding your skirt on, is a titanium joint so that it can flex, and I've got a trailer hook rigged on there the way I rig them, so it gives a lot of swing, and when the fish come out from the side and grab it, it'll hook them.
Now your preference is 3/8 ounce?
That's a quarter, and that brim colored, once the grass comes up or starts coming up, I throw that. If you catch a yellow perch in the grass and you stop and think about it, that looks a lot like a yellow perch. Yellow perch is a delicatessen on the menu for a largemouth bass. So once the grass comes up, I use that. If we weren't in a grass situation, I'd probably use a white and chartreuse or something, natural.
Now here's an interesting semi-creature bait. What do you call this?
That is a new plastic creature bait by Case Plastics. Charlie Case down in North Carolina designed that. It's everybody's into the creature baits. It has a little groove cut on the one side of it for your hook to sit in there for like a Texas rig, but you don't really have to bury that point in there. I found that makes a big difference when we have these cold fronts like we've been fishing the last couple of days and we were fishing today. It's got a threaded wire keeper there where you thread the nose of the bait on there. I don't know how he got it the way he got it, but he got it right. The soft plastics like that will thread on there and stay there, and they don't tear up or come off. I've even threaded hand-poured little finesse worms on there, and they've stayed on there fine.
It's got an interesting head too.
Right.
Tell us about
That's
the
a
head.
stand-up jig head is really what it is with that special wire keeper there. And really what it is, it's the new technique out there called shaky worming. And you rig that bait up, and that bait goes down there, and that stand-up jig head keeps the tail up.
Basically, it look like something like that.
Exactly. And with the little paddle, perforated paddle, I split that open, and that little paddle gives a lot of action in the water. You don't have to do much with your rod tip, just a little bit of twitching once in a while, and it's a lot of action. And when they're shut down and real lethargic and don't want to chase a bait a lot, and you can flip and pitch that on the wood. You can fish it through a water column where you got wood laydowns and just work it along the wood, up in the wood.
So you can flip it around pilings or boat docks and trees.
Open pockets in the grass or the lily pads too.
And it's fairly weedless here too, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Now I'm going to have to talk about the big dog on the street here. Let's talk about this bait here. This is wild. Tell us about this bait.
That bait it's called the chatter bait. It ought to be called the excitement bait or something, but it's the hottest, newest ticket and buzzword out there in the bass fishing community. A lot of guys that know about it don't want you to talk about it.
And I can tell you why.
that little bait, that is a spinnerbait, a jig, and a crankbait all combined into one. The neat thing about that is you can throw it out there, that little somewhat square cornered cut blade comes through the water, and it has so much vibration, your rod tip's just shaking. You think you got a fish on almost. And you can vary the speed, and that'll vary how deep it runs. I fished that thing in grass, I fished it in lily pads, I fished it through the wood, I fished it through the rocks. It's very, very snag resistant, easy bait to fish. Sometimes if it gets caught up in the grass, I just do a couple pumps with the rod tip and it cleans itself up and goes. It's really like a jig head with a little blade and a little pin there where it can pivot at both ends. And everything comes like it is. The little plastic trailer comes with it in the package. The only thing I've modified there is I put that trailer hook. That's a 2-aught spinnerbait trailer hook, and I put it on the way I do my spinnerbaits there, so it's got a lot of free movement with the hook.
So it's really a versatile bait. I mean, fish it like a spinnerbait today. And you could flip it like a jig and just let that.
Right, and it just give you that vibration to grab their attention when you're pulling it up, and they'll catch it on the fall.
And one of the things that I found very interesting, and again, it was just the first time I fished it today, was that when we were going over gravel banks and stuff like that down on the ground, it felt like it was digging in like a spinner or like a crankbait.
Right, that's why they say depending on what your imagination is and how you work that thing, you have a spinnerbait, a crankbait, and a jig all in one product.
So you can be out there and you say, oh, I see a nice log, I'll flip to that, or oh, I see a nice set of pads, I'll throw to it.
And then we fished it today in a lot of wood, and big wood with a lot of little branches in the water that you couldn't see. You can tell that it's hitting them and it doesn't snag up. We didn't have to go in and dig one out one time.
Not one time. Okay, we got the baits, and you talking about lunker sauce garlic. All right, talk to me a little bit about this.
The guys that know me know I have a saying, you have to be on the sauce to catch the big one. That's garlic. Carolina lunker sauce is a foam applicator. I believe in it. I use garlic 90% of the time just because it's a positive taste, smell to a bass. I'm using it to mask all the unnatural scents on my hands. Everything in our household products, if you stop and got gas in your truck this morning, you pump the fuel ball on your outboard to get it started, and I want to mask all those unnatural smells, and when they grab that bait, I want it to be something that they want.
Last but not least, this is one of the coolest things that has come down the pike, at least in my couple of days on the water. Tell us about this bag.
That is called a glory bag. That was invented by Tommy Ball. Down in Bumpus, Virginia. And what that is, he was a tournament fisherman, and he cared about the fish and the sport. And he, like many of us, we see fish getting dropped and getting beat up, and we're chasing them around in the live well at the end of the day to put them in the bag to take them to the scales. And anybody that's involved in catch and release fishing, tournament fishing, or any type of catch and release, it's one thing we can do to help protect the fishery. The fish will not lose scales while they're in the bag, and they will not spit up their undigested food.
Which is weight in a tournament.
Yes,
one of the
sir.
cool things about this, you put the fish in head first, and then when you want to get them out, you just drop them out this way. We've had the fish in live well for a couple hours. They came out fresh. Anything, if you're a tournament fisherman, this could save you the time. Hey, and that's a tackle box.
We are going to another nice Susquehanna flats large.
Oh man, look at that nice fish. Carl, I want to thank you an awful lot coming down here. Susquehanna. See Carl, great fishing, springtime, summertime bass fishing too.